Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. We are cooking for spring, even though we have winter outside. Such an amazing surprise from nature, but I see that the sun has come out. So I think that it is giving us a go-ahead. Thumbs up. Continue with your spring agenda. Okay, so what is the spring agenda? Spring agenda is that in the winter, we were not moving that much. It was pretty cold outside, and we wanted to feel warm and comfortable. And so we were cooking things that were cooking slowly and for a long time, and mostly with root vegetables and something really warming to keep ourselves warm. Now, with the spring coming, the energy is lifting, and our liver has been sluggish all winter. But now, with the spring, we need to cleanse our liver, and this is what spring is about. And this is what all this food today is about. Like we're thinking, like, what are really good liver foods? Good liver foods are all the foods that we have in front of us today. They are lemon and garlic and cabbage and carrots and apples and beets. These are all wonderful foods that are aimed at helping us cleanse our liver. And we will talk about them as we go along. So I sent to you two different dishes. One is coleslaw that is cleansing. And so all of these wonderful ingredients go into it. And the other one is the frittata. And I aimed at doing frittata because it is such a convenient food, such healthy food. And you can eat it at room temperature. You can eat it hot. You can take it with you in a car or on a picnic. So this is why I did it. Another food that I decided to show you today as a surprise is quinoa. Quinoa is not a grain, it is a seed, and it has come to us from the ancient Incas, and it entered our vocabulary probably in the 80s when people didn't know how to pronounce this funny word, quinoa. But now it is on everybody's lips and everybody knows how wonderful it is. And so I will start today with showing you how to cook it, because you can have it in your refrigerator and you can always throw it into things like having it for breakfast with something like with yogurt and berries, or you can do a lot of different other things with it. So as you can see, probably I have here red quinoa, and on the bottom, I have white quinoa. So quinoa comes in different colors, and they have, like red quinoa, for example, it is has milder flavor, and it has, you know, a little more nutrients because of the color. We all know that with color, we have more nutrients. So quinoa has this protective coating that is there for kind of self-defense, so that the birds wouldn't be eating it. But since we've had it already for a while, I think that now they package quinoa that is already rinsed, and this bitter protective coating is washed away. However, we don't know that for sure. And so we always start with washing quinoa thoroughly. And so I put it in a pot and I pour cold water, and then I just swish it around to make sure that the quinoa is washed well. And I might do it, you know, a few times if I feel that it's dirty. And you want to have colander handy because you are going to be straining it through your colander. And I see that there aren't, you know, I don't see too many impurities. Another thing that I have handy when quinoa starts cooking is this little strainer, because as it is cooking, as it is also the case with chicken soup, you have impurities rising to the surface, and you want to get rid of them. So I see that my water is a little bit dirty, so I'll just drain it. And I'll wash it again just in case, and strain again. And then I can start cooking it. So you want quinoa to be kind of on a crunchy side. And so you don't want to have too much water. The ratio of water to quinoa is 1 cup quinoa to 1.5 to 1 7/8 cup. 2 cups of water will be too much. If you put 1.5, it will be crunchier. If it is 1 7/8, it will be softer. But in any event, don't go with more water than that. So I washed it, and now I'm just adding my water. And here I have 1.5 cups. And I'm going to turn on my little stovetop and bring water to boil. So quinoa cooks very fast. It only takes about 15 minutes. If you have a little more water, it will take you maybe up to 20 minutes. You want to cook it covered. So once it comes to boil and you get rid of impurities, you season it, and make sure that you season it generously. I don't know whether you will need like a teaspoon of salt. You can start with half a teaspoon, and then you taste it, and then you see if the water is well seasoned, then you don't need to add any more, and then you will simply add more salt. If it's not well seasoned, cover it, reduce the heat. It should be cooking over very low heat so that it's just bubbling a little bit. Okay, so while our quinoa is coming to boil, and I see that it's happening very quickly, it's already beginning to show signs of bubbles. We want to look at how we are going to plan our menu today. So we have frittata, where of course we will use eggs that we will scramble. We also need to prepare the vegetables that go into frittata. And by the way, if you have quinoa in your refrigerator, even though this recipe doesn't call for quinoa, but by all means, you can add quinoa for more fiber, for more nutrition, and you can increase maybe the amount of eggs if you wanted, to have kind of proportion, but you have something solid, added to your mix. So I think that because we have frittata that is going to be sitting and baking, maybe we should start with prepping our ingredients for frittata. So I have asparagus, and I told you already before, and for people who maybe were not at the last class when I cooked it, first of all, we will rinse asparagus under cold running water. We put it on our cutting board, and then I have close to a pound here. The recipe says that you need 12 ounces. So it's pretty flexible. If you want to have a little more vegetables, you can add a little more eggs. It's not a recipe that is cut in stone. It's not like you are baking something. And then you are going to just snap it at the point where it comfortably breaks off, because the other part, if you are making asparagus soup, you can always use this part that is snapped off just to pre-cook these asparagus, kind of to create a more a more flavorful and nutrient-packed broth, and then you can just strain them out and discard them, and then cook asparagus, because this is too tough, and you will not want to have this fiber that is not going to be able to be processed. All right, so I see now that my beautiful quinoa is already boiling. So I'm taking my strainer, and as you can see, there is this kind of foam. So I'm taking the strainer and I am taking the foam off. All right. And after you take the foam off, make sure not to forget to season it. And I can already reduce the heat because I want to cook it really, really slowly. But at the same time, I want to make sure that it is bubbling. So since I will be using this later for frying frittata, I will place this pot onto my back burner, and it will continue cooking there. In the meantime, let's start seasoning it. So I will start with just half a teaspoon, mix it, and taste. And it's already, I'll add the pinch, but it's already sufficient amount of salt. And what you're looking for when you're cooking your quinoa, you're looking for these little sprouts that will open up. When the quinoa is ready, all the water will be absorbed, and this little sprout will appear on top of each kernel. I'm not calling it grain, but sometimes they call it a grain. So I'm putting it back here. All right, and I'm taking a cover. So I'm turning it off and taking my cover. And this is very convenient when your cover is clear, then you can see what's happening. But if not, then you can always listen, because when something is cooking, you can hear the sound. But when the water already gets absorbed, there won't be any sound. So if you want to make sure if your quinoa still has water left on the bottom, what I do sometimes is I increase the heat to make it higher, and I listen if there is any kind of sound happening, and I know that more water needs to evaporate. If not, I just let it be. And then when I turn it off, I just put a towel that is folded like a kitchen towel to let the steam get absorbed, and so the quinoa gets kind of fluffed up. All right, so let's see. Okay, it's cooking slowly on the lowest heat, and I'm putting the timer on 15 minutes and let it do its work. So in the meantime, we're just snapping the rest of asparagus. And of course, asparagus, most vegetables that we're going to cook today are very high in vitamin K, and this is wonderful for blood clotting, for your bones. And asparagus is definitely one of those vegetables. And it has a lot of other wonderful qualities. So I'm just going to hold my knife to make sure that it's nice and ready for all the cutting that we're going to do. And in order to cut asparagus, I'll show you how I do it. So we want to have asparagus cut into about like 1-inch pieces. So what I do is I set it kind of on a bias like that. Okay, and I can just separate, because it's a big bunch, I can just separate into 2 bunches, and I see what makes it comfortable for me to hold it, so that I can cut it on a bias at the same time holding it and making it comfortable. Okay, so I will take my knife and holding it tightly, I will just start cutting it this way, like going along like that, and then moving my hand and going again, and again, moving my hand and just repositioning to make sure that I hold it flat and it's not moving anywhere and it's convenient for me to cut. And when I come to the to these tips, I don't want to cut into them. They are very pretty. So I just want to leave them whole. And so this part is ready. And then I'm proceeding to the next bunch. And I'm doing exactly the same thing. Okay, so just put it a little bit on a bias and just see with your knife, you're just evening it out and making the angle that you want. And then you just hold it tightly. You can bunch it up a little bit if it's not convenient. If your hand is smaller, you can bunch it up a little bit to make holding it easier. And then step away and keep cutting. And here, some of them are a little longer than others. So we want them to be about the same size. It's important for them to be about equally thick and equally in size, so that they would cook evenly. All right, so now we will put them aside. So it's convenient to just hold your bowl like that and just sweep it. So this way, you know, you don't have to lift them, and it's really very, very easy to do. The next vegetable, which is a wonderful vegetable that is really underused, is leek. And leek is in the same family, allium, as onion and garlic. And it is a wonderful prebiotic, same as garlic. And what prebiotic does in your body is it feeds that bacteria in your gut that helps your gut to stay healthy and digest food well. So when we get leek in the supermarket, then we want to make sure that it is nice and smooth and doesn't have blemishes. When the season comes, you will see that at the farmer's market, you will have leek that is smaller, and when it's smaller, it's more tender, and then you can eat also the greens, because the greens have nutrients, but they are pretty tough. And so there are actually more nutrients in the greens than in the white part. But since it's kind of an older leek, we want to just trim it. And I'll show you how you wash the leek. There are two ways to wash the leek. You can either cut it. See, I'm saving these greens that are pale greens, and I'm going to use them. And to wash the leek, you can either just cut here along the layer, right? And open it up and see if you have any sand hiding there. And because leeks grow in sand, then you might not see it on the surface, but it might be hiding inside, and you want to make sure that you don't have it in your food, okay? And especially another way to do it is you will lay it flat, and you will go and do sewing motion like that in the middle and cut along. And this is how you will be cutting it as well. So, and this way you can bend it and look inside what's happening. Another way to wash the leek is just to follow what I just showed you and pre-slice it, and then have a big bowl of water that you are going to just drop the sliced leek into it. And the same way that we are washing herbs, you know, I was telling you before, if you remember, but it's worth repeating that when you bring fresh herbs from the market, and I have a lot of them that are waiting to be used in our frittata and in our slaw, and of course, they're wonderful everywhere. So the first thing you do, you get your salad spinner. You get your salad spinner and you fill it with cold water, and you drop a whole bunch of your herbs into the cold water and you swish it around. There is no way to get rid of impurities and the sand, or, you know, if it's organic, there might be a little insect that unless you wash it this way. And so salad spinner is just an amazing tool that, of course, I grew up not having. Only when I came to this country, I found out what it was. But this is something that every household should have, and wash your lettuces and wash your herbs this way. So, and that's the same way you would wash your sliced leek. Well, this leek happens to be pretty clean. And I think that we have already, like our recipe says, 2 cups. 2 cups. So we have already close to 2 cups. So we will put it aside. Okay. All right. And the rest we can put away. So another thing that we need to prepare for our frittata, I crumbled some goat cheese. And by the way, there are different cheeses that could go well with it. There is Parmesan cheese, there is Fontina. I recommend that if you are interested, you can look up maybe in the library. There is a book that's called Flavor Bible, and it actually shows you which foods go with which foods. So for example, and they go alphabetically. So if you want to go what goes with asparagus, you want to see. So you will open it on asparagus, and in big bold letters, you know, you will see lemon and tarragon and, you know, garlic. So you know that these are like the best matches for asparagus. And then there will be something in bold but in smaller letters, and so that's a good match, but not as like happy as the other ones. And then there might be, you know, in just regular bold, regular type. So they will go, they can be used as well. And if you don't find it, then don't use it. Don't use it. Okay. So now I see that my water is getting absorbed. I see that I have 6 minutes left, and I hear bubbling of my quinoa. And in the meantime, you know, we can decide whether we want to use butter or olive oil. Both of these are going to work perfectly well, but you want to also prepare your herbs because they will go as well. So some parsley and some tarragon. And tarragon is this herb that we don't really use a lot, but it is a very, very happy companion to go with asparagus. It has a little anise flavor. And so I decided to add it together with parsley. And of course, with parsley, you want to separate the stems from the leaves. And it's very convenient to do it if you just take it and just slide it. You don't have to take each leaf separately and tear it off. You just slide it, especially at the very tip. And then you can just chop them together. You'll just combine them, put them into your hand and hold them tightly. And of course, you want to put some herbs into your frittata, and some herbs will go on top as a decoration, which of course, you know, it's not going to be cooked, so it's going to have different benefits. When something is raw, it gives you different benefits than when something is cooked. But all of this is very, very beneficial and light. And also you will notice that dandelions are springing up, and dandelion greens are one of the best foods for your liver. And liver loves sour and bitter. And it's really Sometimes I even go and forage them and just put them into my smoothie or into my salad. Okay, so you can save these for your broth, as I always tell you. And then you will just take it and chop it up. So of course, we are going to use eggs for frittata. And I recommend using pastured eggs because, as I always told you, whatever the animal or the bird that you use in your food eats, that is passed on to you. So pastured chickens, besides just being happy chickens, they also eat different bugs and greens, and they get a lot of sunshine. And so, and if they are fed non-GMO foods, because remember that if it doesn't say organic, for example, it means that there might be GMO foods, and if you want to avoid them, then you don't want to, buy eggs that were fed GMO foods. Also, we don't think about eggs as a spring food, but it is a spring food. And I read a very interesting article on Edible Manhattan that was describing Green Market, which is a famous market, farmers market in New York City. And they were saying that, we think of strawberries as spring food, and rhubarb, but it is really eggs, because unless there is sunlight, chickens don't lay eggs. And of course, we don't think about it because we're used to having eggs at all seasons. But for the farmer, it's really a big expense to feed the chickens that doesn't produce any eggs in the winter. But as soon as sunlight starts, they start producing. All right, so now what I have my vegetables, so I can start, cooking with them. So I will put some olive oil. Okay. And of course, we have our leeks that will go in. So as soon as it gets heated up, and I can hear that I have 1 minute left on my quinoa. So let's preheat it. Let's make sure that it's heated nicely before we add the vegetables. And at the same time, we can check on our quinoa. Yes, and I still can hear the water. So what I'm going to do, I will add some more time. So I'll add like 3 minutes. And I will let it continue cooking. Okay, in the meantime, how can we tell that our skillet is ready? We watch, and first of all, we can start smelling the olive oil. And it's a really lovely smell. Depending on what olive oil you are going to get, the smell might not exist or be this lovely smell. And then you can see how it starts kind of coating the pan and separating. So at this point, I'm going to add my leeks. And of course, you can hear the sound. So when you hear the sound, then you know that the skillet has warmed up sufficiently. And you will take a little salt, like I've always was teaching you, that you need to sprinkle a little bit of salt because that will help develop flavors. And then you will have your little spatula and make sure that you are cooking it. Leeks cook very quickly. So make sure that you are stirring it, and you can at the same time add your asparagus. Okay. And sometimes it might be even helpful, and again, more salt. Okay. And sometimes it might be even helpful to just, if you see that it's not cooking quickly enough and you want to speed it up, you might want to add a little water and have a lid, and I'll show you how you can do it. So you'll have a lid, right? And you will add a splash of water. And of course, then that steam that is in your pan is going to help you cook it faster. So again, I can hear more like bigger sounds. So I know that it's cooking, and I will grind my pepper. I always like adding pepper so that it can coax all these wonderful ingredients and make them more bioavailable to you, and also add to the flavor. All right. And now I will cover it and let it cook. And so it's not going to take long. So in the meantime, we will prepare our eggs.
Anna,
So
Anna, would
yeah.
you move the herbs are blocking the view a little bit? Move the big bag. Yes, push those to the side. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Okay. All right. Now I hear again. I hear my quinoa. And I'll increase the heat a little bit because I can still hear the water. And you can always take, you can always take a fork, and then you can just, open it up and see if it's dry on the bottom, then it's cooked. And see, I don't know if you can see that it has increased in volume, and also there are little white sprouts that appeared everywhere. So I think it's ready because I didn't really see any water there. Let's check our vegetables. Good, they are cooking. And now I will take a towel, and it's folded nicely so that it has many layers and can absorb the steam. And I will place it on top of my pot right here, and then put the cover back on. And of course, I turned off the heat, and it's just going to sit there. So now I'm going to scramble my eggs, but again, don't forget that you want to attend to your vegetables. You don't want to undercook them, and you don't want to overcook them. So
Anna, in your recipe, it says cook the leeks 5 minutes and then add the asparagus.
Right.
Is that important because you put the asparagus in almost right away?
It's not really important because leeks were sliced much finer, number one. Number two, they cook very fast, and asparagus takes longer. And so if you have more time, you can do it separately. If you want to speed it up a little bit, you can start, as you saw that I started with leeks. They started, but they were not cooking for 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah,
and
they were chopped very fine.
Yes, exactly. If you chop them, wider, then that might take a little longer. I also want to taste. Really lovely. I'll add just a little more salt. And at this point, I'm going to turn it off because my asparagus, now I see that the leeks have kind of softened asparagus. As you can see, it is still bright green, and it has, and I can see that it still has kind of like white heart, like white middle. And at this point, I'll turn it off because I don't want it to become mushy. I want it still to have some texture and crunch, and especially that it will continue cooking in our oven. And I'm going to set up the oven here at 350. And Barbara, make sure that I am using the right temperature. And so my oven is heating up. Okay, so while I am working with other things. And don't forget also that your vegetables continue cooking. Like if you want them to stop cooking, then you can just move them, you know, to a plate. But I think that I stopped early enough so that they are not going to be overcooking while I am working with my eggs. So you will, I'm putting more than 6 eggs simply because the eggs that I bought are medium size. And so it will take more eggs to make the quantity that I want. And then you have your whisk, and I love this kind of whisk. It's a flat whisk, and I prefer it to the balloon whisk. I've been using it, you know, for many different purposes. So all you want to do is just beat your eggs. Your pan is already hot, and your herbs are prepared. You have goat cheese crumbled, and you will save some for the top as well as the herbs. So anything else goes in there, Barbara? You can see the recipe. Anything else goes in there?
Oh, I don't have it up.
Oh, you don't? Okay. So, yeah,
We have guests keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, there is really nothing else. So I always add salt and pepper, and then I just whisk. And you know, I usually what I do is I just tap on the egg yolks first to break them. And you know, when your eggs are fresh and your eggs are from good chicken, then they are really like, egg yolks are standing boldly and not flat. And the egg white is also very much together. So I will whisk it well to make sure that it's all combined. And then I'm going to turn on my pan again. Okay. It's seasoned nicely. And at this point, I turned on the oven so I can hear the sound of my pan. And now I will add the goat cheese, and I will save some. And I will add also most of my herbs and save some for the top. Okay, and then I'll just fold it together. I'll fold it all together. Okay. And then what you want to do, you will pour it into your pan. And my oven, see how perfect the timing is. My oven is actually communicating with me that it's ready. But before you put it in the oven, you want to kind of, you know, make sure that your vegetables are distributed well, and your eggs start kind of cooking on the bottom. So you will just give it a little time, and you will see how they start. You know, I can see by looking that I see little bubbles, which means that they are cooking. So what you are looking for here is, you'll put it in the oven, and what you are looking for is that the eggs will start getting solid, and also it will start getting puffy. So I'm shifting my my pan into the oven, and I'm setting the timer for 15 minutes. Okay, and in the meantime, I want to show you what I'm doing with this quinoa. So I will take a fork and I will just fluff it up like that, see? And then I will put my towel back. If you are in a rush and you want to cool it faster, you can throw it onto a flat baking sheet, and you can, you can flavor it. You can just grate some lemon zest and drizzle some lemon juice and some olive oil and just toss it together and let it cool together with this dressing. And then your quinoa will be already flavored, or you can just, wait until it's done cooling naturally. Okay, so now we will clean up our working space for the next dish, which is our coleslaw. And of course, we want to incorporate many different vegetables and fruit into our diet. And some of them are good cooked and some of them are good raw. And coleslaw is really wonderful because unlike salad that you make with leafy greens, it really is something that will keep in the refrigerator for a few days. So, and you can be flexible, like this particular recipe uses a lot of different vegetables. You can just make it with red and green cabbage, or you can make it with just carrots and cabbage and apples, and you can make the dressing with ginger and olive oil and lemon juice and a little mustard. It's really very flexible, but we're incorporating many vegetables here. So what we are going to start with, and as I said before, that all of these vegetables are wonderful for your liver, and some of them are cruciferous, and some of them, have vibrant colors. Like for example, for carrot, I picked purple carrot together with the orange. For the apple, I picked Granny Smith, and I have to remind you that celery and apple are on the list of vegetables that are Dirty Dozen list, so you want them organic. And why Granny Smith? Because apples are like sweet apples have fairly high sugar content, and we already are putting beets that are high in sugar and carrots. So this is, of course, tart is a nice flavor, but also they are the lowest in sugar content. So I prefer to eat them. I eat an apple every day. They say that an apple a day keeps the doctor away. And recently I've been listening to some smart people who were saying that apple really is an amazing fruit to add to your diet, and that you should be eating an apple a day. Okay, now with celery, it says 2 stalks, but I will show you what I do. When I get celery, I don't really separate it because there are lovely leaves there, which are also very, it adds to the flavor, and also why throw them away, So what I do is just, I will rinse it and then make sure that it's dry. Now take this towel again, make sure that it's dry because I don't want to introduce moisture into my salad. Vegetables have enough of their own moisture. And then I will just thinly slice it. And of course, you want to prepare a bowl. So you can either have a bowl where you're going to be throwing everything in, or you can have a bowl, with a colander where you can just keep piling them up and have the juices drained. So it's up to you. So I like using really big bowls. So I will take this big bowl and I'll place it here. Or maybe I'll just put it here out of the way. And then I just take my celery and I slice it like that. Okay, so I slice it thinly. And you can do it on a bias, you know, if you want to, you can go like that, or you can just do it straight. It's up to you. So I will slice, you know, all of these measurements are approximate, you know. I know that when you write a recipe, you have to write quantity and you have to describe exactly, you know, what you want people to do. And of course, proportion is important in some cases. In a salad, I don't know how important it is. I've worked on developing and testing recipes for publication. So I know, you know, how to write a recipe and what's important for people to know and what the requirements are. But often, you know, once you follow a recipe and you're kind of comfortable with it, then you should try to experiment with adding other things and not following it exactly, you know, and see how it turns out. So now with the cabbage, I will take, and first of all, I want to make sure that my cabbage doesn't have any kinds of rotting black spots. So I'll clean it out well, and then I'll put it flat and cut it first in half and see how I'm wedging my knife, like doing this back and forth motion. And then I'm placing it flat again and cutting it to have a quarter. And then I'll decide, you know, how much of it I'm going to use. So you will just place it flat, and then you start cutting from the angle that is convenient. And then I rotate it. See, I always like going into that angle, and that's why I'm cutting it, and then I see I have another angle forming, right? So I will change and put it flat where this angle is convenient for me. So you have to see what's convenient for you. If I'm cutting this way and I like it this way, it doesn't mean that that's your favorite way of cutting, but I'm just sharing with you how I like doing it and what works for me. Okay, so this is, when we come to the core, then of course you can just eat it. That's what I end up doing. I end up eating the core and chewing it as I'm working. So it says here about 3 cups. So you can, I'm looking that this is a little under, so I might take another wedge and add a little more. So I have here like about 2 cups, maybe 2.5 cups. And then again, I like shredding it pretty finely, but it's up to you what kind of texture you want.
Anna, how about using a food processor to chop the cabbage? Is that something that you would accept?
You know, I think that for this quantity, setting up food processor and then, you know, cutting cabbage so that it sits nicely and everything. Of course you can do it, but I was using food processor only when I was doing my catering, you know, like for 100 people, and I had to do a lot. And then I had to process a lot of carrots, then I would do it. But for this little quantity, I just wouldn't recommend. Besides, you know, like I learned in Macrobiotic Institute that it's actually your energy that goes into this food. And that's why I invite you to have happy energy, because you're creating something with loving, happy energy, and then you're going to eat it and you'll get it back. So yes, you can. The short answer is yes, you can, but I wouldn't rely on it with such small quantity. Okay, so I'm checking also on my frittata, and it looks like it's cooking there. And by the way, with frittatas, there are also different ways of making frittatas. You can cook it, you know, almost completely on top of your stove and then put it under the broiler for a short period of time, or you can bake it. And because it's more convenient for me for today to bake it, that's why I'm baking it. So the other vegetables that will go, they will go actually on using the grater. I want to show you my little trick, what I do with, like, to take the core out of the apple. I will just cut it in half. And I came up with this method because I used to bake apple strudel for a country club when we lived in Connecticut. And of course, I had to go through so many apples. And so I found that coring it that way, or if you're making an apple pie, you know, it's really a wonderful shortcut. So you will just cut it in half, and then you can take, you know, your melon ball either on the big side or little side, depending on how big your core is, and just go around, and that's it. And then I eat it. And because the seeds are also recommended for consumption, there is nutrient there as well. So I don't throw out the cores. So this is ready. With beets, I save the leaves, especially, you know, I try to buy organic. I save the leaves because they're even saying that leaves of the beets have more nutrients than the root itself. And then I'm just, you know, sauteing it. I will chop it, we'll saute some garlic and saute beets, maybe with a little water, cover it, and then add maybe a little bit of maple syrup, a little ginger, you know, how you want to flavor it. So now I see that my frittata is beginning to come to readiness. It has puffed up. So I'm rotating because, as you know, your oven is not cooking evenly in the bottom. I mean, in the back, it is hotter usually. So, and what it has kind of lifted. So what I'm doing, see, I'm taking this and I am releasing the air, right? To make it, because the air has accumulated there. So I'm releasing it to flatten it, but it's actually almost ready. Just on the other side, it is, it has to cook a little more. All right, so you can grate all the vegetables and have them sitting, but in the meantime, it takes time to have the dressing sitting. For example, if you put it in a blender, there are two methods that I have recommended. One is to put it into a little blender or little food processor and just to throw everything together. Or you can do it the second way, which is grating the garlic and allowing it to sit with lemon juice and apple cider vinegar to kind of soften it. And then you will be adding the rest of the ingredients. So what I'm going to do before I proceed with my other fruits and vegetables, I will plan it in such a way that I can allow these to macerate, because I like doing it by hand. I don't want to make another utensil or another little machine dirty. But by all means, if that's easier for you, just remember that with garlic, if you are using a little food processor, that it's much more efficient to chop your garlic if you run your food processor with a lid closed, and then you drop the garlic clove into your running machine. Then it will really chop it very, very nicely. So you can do it this way. So I have my graters. So I will grate the garlic, and then I will add salt, and I'll add apple cider vinegar and juice, lemon juice. And it's not, I didn't identify in the recipe to use lemon zest, but I wanted to tell you that lemon is really a very, very, very special fruit for liver. And in general, that lemon juice, lemon and limes, they have these lemonids that that are really very favorable for your body. They were found to have anti-cancer properties, and they were found in testing on animal and human cells that they actually stay in the body for up to 24 hours, which is very unusual. Like green tea, for example, the healthy nutrients there stay for like 4 to 6 hours, okay? So I will add, and also the zest, you know, the zest has even more nutrients than the juice does. Okay, so I want to make sure that I use, so you can see that the frittata is actually ready. It has puffed up, it's nice color. Okay, you can see how beautiful it is.
So Anna, did that take about 20 minutes?
Yes, I set it up, what did I say, for 20 or 15?
15.
That's what it took, 15, exactly. So at this point, you want to take a knife, right? Can you see? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you want to just go with the knife around the pan, the sides of the pan, and just to separate it, okay? And you might want to adjust, let it sit a little bit, because when it sits, it kind of develops, you know, moisture, the steam underneath. And if it's stuck somewhere, then that will also help you separate it from the bottom. So I'm just going to let it sit a little bit, and I'm not going to put more cheese and herbs until I dislodge it from this pan. In the meantime, your garlic is here. I will also take my microplane grater, and I will grate the juice, the zest of the lemon. Like I said, that it's a shame to waste something that is good for you and also so delicious, because all the aromatics from lemon are in the zest, in that wonderful citrus oil that is there. Okay, and at this point, I will add the cider vinegar, and I will add lemon juice that I squeezed already in advance. Okay, and at this point, you know, it's not important how much you put. You just want to put enough so that the garlic is submerged there. And then you put a little bit of your salt and allow it to sit and macerate. And while you are macerating it, you will also, you can continue with your vegetables, just grating them. And here, you know, if you have, because you have to grate the carrots and the beets and the apple, if you want to, you can totally set up your food processor and just wedge them in and swish, and they're done. Okay, so now what I'm looking for is I'm looking what I did with my grater. Yes, and another vegetable that will go here is fennel. So before I grate this, I want to show you, fennel is really very much underused vegetable that is so delicious, cooked and raw. And you want to get it, you know, you want to have fennel that looks like this. Fennel wasn't really so good looking. I didn't see ones that were really good looking, but you want to have smooth skin here. Okay, and this you can save for this is all edible. You can save it for the broth. And this, you know, the fronds, they can be used as an herb. You can just chop them and put them back into your slaw. So again, you will do the same thing that you are doing for cabbage. You'll just cut it in half, right? And then you can just either cut it again in half, and place it like that. And then start thinly slicing. And the core will not go in. And this will mix very nicely, you know, with, there will be anisey flavor in your frittata because tarragon has anisey flavor and fennel has also anisey flavor. So this will go really nicely. And so I wanted to also tell you more about what goes into the dressing. We will definitely flavor the dressing. You can either add some soy sauce, or I like using coconut aminos, or you can use Bragg's aminos for that if you do not tolerate soy sauce. And another ingredient that I absolutely love and that is very flavorful, and I feel that it's underused. They use it in hummus, you know, tahini. It's like the main ingredient in making hummus. But other than that, I don't see in our culture that we make too many dressings using tahini. But it's very flavorful. It will be nice for coleslaw because tahini will give it body, and it will kind of coat it nicely, coat the vegetables. And also, tahini is made with sesame seeds, and so it's very rich in minerals like copper and magnesium and calcium. Okay, so this is ready. And I will show you which tahini you should be buying and which you shouldn't be buying, because there is tahini that is very thick and granular, and it's not really a good, it's not going to make a good dressing, and it's not good for you know, other uses as well, like for hummus. I'll show you. I have two different tahinis, and tahinis that are best are the ones that are smooth and light in color, and the ones that are made in the Middle East, like Lebanon might be a good source, Israel. A lot of tahini, also good tahini is made in the Palestine. So I can just show you what it looks like. Okay. As you can see, that your suggestion of food processor here would have been, you know, very speedy. But then again, you can do something. This is like a nice exercise, as long as you don't grate your fingers. Okay, and don't go all the way to the end, because when you go to the end, then you have a higher chance of grating your fingers. So these will add beautiful color to your slaw, because cabbage and celery and fennel, they're all pretty pale. And this is going to be really nice and colorful. And as you can see, I did not peel the apple because there is a lot of, there are a lot of nutrients in the peel, and especially when you have organic apple. And we know that most nutrients actually in vegetables are concentrated in the peel and right under the peel. Okay. So this is almost ready. And if you don't want to stain your beautiful apron, then try to stay away. This is actually the apron that my kids gave me, because when I started my cooking show, The Natural Cook with Anna Gershenson, for my birthday, one of my birthdays, they celebrated me being a host, and they made an apron with the logo of my show. That was very, very sweet of them. So they said to me, "Mom, are you going to wear our apron for your cooking classes?" And I said, oh, thank you for reminding me. Of course I will. So we pulled it out, and this is, I'm wearing it with love and with pride. Okay, so now all of this, as you can see, it was all accumulating in the grater. And now I'm just scraping the sides. Okay, and another herb that you could use in this is rosemary, but you know, rosemary is a good cleansing herb, but it could be very, very potent. And so I don't want one herb to totally like change the balance of flavors, and that's why I did not add it to this. But you are welcome to experiment. And then of course, parsley and cilantro go here, and I showed you how to deal with parsley, and I will show you how to deal with cilantro. Cilantro is this very, very gentle herb, unlike parsley. So you have to be careful, because when you are going to be storing it in the refrigerator, you know, I wash my herbs, I dry them, and then you can just put them in a jar with water and in the refrigerator, and they will keep like that for a long time. Or you can take a plastic bag, and then you will take a piece of paper towel or real towel and wrap your herbs, and especially for cilantro, because it rots very, very easily. And it's a wonderful herb to have. So in cilantro, we don't use these big stems, but we definitely use little stems. Okay, so you can just chop them off, and see, for the sake of economy, I just cut them to make sure that they are the same length, and holding it tightly and just chopping like that. And the same will be with parsley. Okay. And again, I was telling you before that cilantro actually takes heavy metals out of your body. So it's a great detoxifying herb as well. Make sure to use it. Okay, so see, we have so much slaw. It's just unbelievable. Do you see how much we have here? So what I'm going to do now that they're here, I'm going to sprinkle salt. That's number one. See, I'm pretty generous with salt, because salt starts breaking up the fibers. And so it's going to sit and start wilting, and the juices will start coming out. That's what salt does. And then I will also drizzle some apple cider vinegar just to start flavoring it, and some lemon juice. And again, this is all, you know, it's all adjustable. You can just start with a little and then taste. And so they're going to just sit and start breaking down. And as they break down, the volume will start diminishing. So let them sit here. Okay, I'll put them here. The stove is not hot anymore. And you could add lemon zest there as well. You know, you can either add it to your dressing, or you can add it straight to your slaw, to all your vegetables and fruits. Okay, and now I will take care of frittata. So you will have a plate, right, where you want to plate it, and you want to have some kind of spatula. You have this, like a fish spatula that has a little bit of bend here, and you also have this flexible spatula, so you can go around, even though we already did it, but you might want to lift it to make sure that it's not stuck, and it's not. And so at this point, you will just take your frittata, And flexible spatula is working better here than this one because it's more flexible. And then just go underneath to make sure that it's all, you know, dislodged, that nothing is stuck. And then carefully move it onto your plate like that. Okay. And it's not in the recipe, but you can even use your quinoa for like extra texture and crunch, right? You can take your quinoa and just sprinkle a little bit. And so you have this element of texture because everything is fairly soft. And then you have these like little kernels that look kind of interesting, and people will say, what is this stuff? Especially when you have, you know, red mixed in. You can cook just red by itself. There is also black variety. And then you will take your goat cheese. And of course, if you sprinkle your goat cheese, if you want it melted, then you can sprinkle it while it's still hot, or you can even, while in the pan, you can quickly put it under the broiler and have it melted. And then you will sprinkle your herbs. And you have a lovely dish that you can eat now, you can save for later. And it's healthy, and we'll see how it tastes, right?
It looks wonderful. Anna, we have about 20 minutes just to
Yes.
give you a time check.
Oh yeah, it's perfect actually. Thank you for letting me know. And let's see how it tastes. So I'll just cut a little piece. Okay. All right. It's really good. You can still have the texture of asparagus. It didn't become mushy. Also, tarragon is pretty prominent. So if this is something that is not your preference, you can omit it, but I love, and also creaminess of the cheese. It's really a very flavorful, filling, and delicious dish. And you can use a beautiful plate for display. So I'll put it here. And I can taste the pepper comes through at the end.
Anna, Charlotte has been cooking along with you like she did last week.
Oh, really?
I'm hoping she'll unmute and just add a moment of comment.
Yeah. Oh, that would be awesome. That sounds fantastic. I love it. Thank you for letting me know.
It is delicious.
Yeah.
Yes, I made my own tahini because you said raw, and I'm going like, okay, raw, I don't know. So I bought toasted sesames and.
Really? Oh my God, you're really ambitious. I'm very impressed.
When you say raw, I'm thinking, okay, it has to be fresh. I'll make it myself.
Yes, yes.
Badly. Probably, it came out, I mean, it was smooth enough, but it still had a bit of grain and and it was a light toasted sesame. It wasn't the dark. So.
Right.
Very good.
That's great. So I want to show you. This is the tahini that I recommend, and see how it is very smooth. And of course, when you open a jar of tahini, there is always a separation of oil and the ground, ground seeds. And of course, tahini is something that you use to make halva, which is such a wonderful Middle Eastern sweet and delicacy. I absolutely love halva. Actually, I found a company in California, and I just ordered their halva, and it is made with Sum, Tahini. There are sisters who decided that they're going to start their own company making wonderful tahini. It's called Sum Tahini, and they use this wonderful product. So now I'll show you. This is once again brand, which is, you know, like a healthy, good brand, but I'll show you that their tahini is just so clumpy and rough that it will not make a good, you know, it's just when you add it either to hummus, or maybe hummus is more forgiving, but in a dressing like that, I don't think that, you know, it's going to really contribute so well. So now, how do we make tahini dressing? And I encourage you to make tahini dressing because it is just so delicious.
Anna, can I interrupt you for a moment, please? The frittata, you can freeze it, you can reheat it, you can eat it at room temperature.
I would not freeze it. No, I would not. No. Freezing will totally ruin its texture. You know, the crystals, they will not, like, these are eggs, you know,
okay.
And there is no flour there or anything. So you can keep it for a few days in the refrigerator, covered like in a container, and you can cut it into portions and just put it and then take it. And also, I like it warm, but it's perfectly good room temperature. Just make sure that if you transport it somewhere, that you put it into a cooler with cold elements, because you don't want to spoil the eggs. And so yes, this is, and you can use a smaller pan. You know, you can use a 9-inch pan and make a smaller to adjust to your. But I think that you will find that this is like a great snack. You know, even you want something, you pull it out of the refrigerator. You know, something healthy, delicious that you prepared is sitting there. Okay, so now.
So back to the tahini. What is the brand name of the one that you recommend?
The brand name, the one that is like the brand that I just told you about, is called Soom, S-O-O-M. However, there are other brands, like this is Lior Tahini. There is also a company called Barons. They make very good tahini. If you happen to shop at Whole Foods, they have their own brand, 365, that is made in Israel, and it's also wonderful tahini. I found even tahinis like in places like, you know, Ocean State job lot or big lots. You know, sometimes they bring these nice tahinis from imported from different countries, Middle Eastern countries. So now what we have to do is we have already our juices. So let me make sure that I didn't forget anything. So we have our lemon juice. Maybe I'll add a little more. We have apple cider vinegar. We have garlic. And we will add some coconut aminos. So that will give it kind of deeper flavor. Okay. So let's add a little more because we have a lot of vegetables there to dress. So now at this point, you could do it all in the food processor, like put everything together and then just whiz it, right? And it will be ready. And I'm going to show you the other method, which is a little different. But going back to tahini dressing, tahini, when you add tahini to liquid, it will always start thickening, and it might be even difficult for you to, you know, whisk it because it will become very thick. And so when everything is combined, then little by little, you start adding water just to thin it out. And you can make tahini dressing with just lemon juice, salt, and tahini, and a little water and a little garlic, and that's it. And it will be a perfect dressing. So let's start adding tahini. So it says half a cup of raw tahini. So I'm just eyeballing half a cup. This is about half a cup. Okay. So now I'm mixing it. I'm mixing it together. Okay. And of course, as you mix it, you can see how it's thickening. You see how it's thickening? And this is not a dressing really, because it's too thick to be a dressing. And that's what tahini does. When it emulsifies, it becomes thick, and it could be even thicker. Like if I added a little more, you will see that it could be like really thick, that you will have even kind of like mixing it will become a little bit more laborious. So at this point, I start gradually adding the water, just a little bit at a time, just to thin it out, because you use water simply to give it kind of portable consistency. And you see that as you add water, the color of your dressing is also lightening. It becomes lighter, and it's still not portable. It's still pretty thick, so I'll keep adding more. And then of course I will taste, because of course our vegetables are seasoned, and they are not only seasoned with salt, which usually that's how I season when I make coleslaw. But in this particular recipe, there is also lemon juice and apple cider vinegar, which is already also is helping them being broken down. And so at this point, I will say that it's portable. You see how I'm lifting it and it's falling nicely. And of course, now I have to taste. I cannot work with everything until I know how it tastes. I mean, anything. It's just so yummy. I will not be adding anything else. It has this, you know, like strong bite from the garlic. And also I can taste the aminos. It adds the depth, like I said, and some kind of like intriguing flavor, and tartness from vinegar and lemon juice, and richness from tahini. It's just lovely. So now let me move this away and show you how I'm going to be dressing it. I usually use my hand. So I will start, you know, first of all, I will just mix it again to make sure that everything is combined nicely, all the vegetables, and you see the colors are really lovely. And it smells good too. And I can smell the beets, you know, beets has a very strong flavor. And you can use golden beets too. It's just that, you know, the darker the color, the more nutrients that are there. So I'm going to just pour it like that. I'm putting about half of it, okay? And now I'll use a fork, because I know that I'll get my hands really, really dirty. And you can use 2 forks to combine it together. Okay, still going with my hands. Nothing like hands. You know that even when you're making a cake, that when you make big quantity of batter for the cake, that you can even use your hands to fold in, you know, ingredients like flour into your beaten eggs and stuff like that. Hands are just amazing tools. Okay, so now I'm going to taste again. It's really lovely. I will add more dressing because I don't taste yet the richness of tahini, and I want it to come through. So I'm going to add more dressing, mix it again, and see how it made the coleslaw different. You know that coleslaw is usually made with mayonnaise. You know, we are used to having coleslaw dressed with mayonnaise, and that actually, you know, Mayonnaise has fat from the oil. And of course, tahini is kind of mimics it, right? Because we can either dress our coleslaw. Usually I have it olive oil based, but this time, you know, it has tahini, which will make it richer, and it will enhance its nutrition quality. It's very, very flavorful. I think that there is really no need to add anything. It's just, you have all the seasonings. I will scrape the rest because there is so little left. So this amount of tahini is really good. With this amount of vegetables, I'll just scrape it and finish. And then, you know, it will go really well with this, with frittata, because it complements the colors, it complements the texture. The frittata is kind of nice and rich and has a little bit of texture, but mostly soft. And this is crunchy. So again, make sure that you have a lovely bowl. I have this beautiful red bowl that I will just move it into. And then you can have, you can even, before you serve, you can toast some sesame seeds. And sesame seeds are usually toasted on a skillet, not in the oven. Just watch it to make sure that they don't burn. And they will give you a decoration as well as kind of like extra crunch. And then you can just take your fronds. You can take your fronds and just take them off and place them, you know, sticking out nicely, because you eat with your eyes first. And so you want everything to look so appetizing and appealing. And this is your coleslaw. So you have two beautiful dishes that are very well fit for spring. Wonderful. They are loaded with nutrients. They are not hard to make. You just have to jump in there and have this wonderful experience of cooking.
That's great. And I have to hit you with a few more quick questions. First, from the other recipe for the soba noodles, someone's going to make that, and she says she can't find soba noodles. Is there a substitute?
First of all, I saw them at Guido's. So, and they're also available online. And you can definitely use regular pasta. Okay. I suggest it's soba noodles because they have more nutrition. But you can use, you know, spaghetti or
any other pasta.
Or any other pasta that is long, you know.
Yeah. And so someone asks, how about a little honey added to the dressing? Does that sound like something that would be okay?
Absolutely.
Sure.
You can, yeah, absolutely. You can add honey or maple syrup. It is up to you how you like your food. If you want.
And so another one, which is about the raw tahini. There's a raw tahini. Is that something you can purchase or?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Raw tahini. I don't know why in this recipe they said raw tahini. I'm not familiar that there is such a thing as not raw tahini. But raw tahini means that it is just ground sesame seeds and nothing else. And that's what raw tahini means.
Great.
Yes, great. You can purchase it. And of course, I do not encourage you to make your own because, you know, there is enough that you have to do. And unless you really, you know, you want to have an adventure, like we already have an experience here that was shared with us. But there are wonderful brands, and tahini is for example, I have chickpeas that I will be soaking and cooking. And then the convenient thing, of course, beans are wonderful in your diet. Convenient thing is that once you cook your beans, you drain them, and then you put them into plastic bags flat, and you freeze them. And you can pull out, whenever you need to have them added either to soup or to your salad, or to throw into a blender to make hummus. And it's such an easy thing. If you want me to show you how to make hummus next time, I'll be happy to do it. Just let me know.
So two more quick questions on tahini. This person has the Yehuda tahini, Yehuda. Yehuda tahini.
Yes.
Are you familiar with that one?
Yes. It's a good. You absolutely, you can use that brand.
Okay. And someone else asked tahini from Trader Joe's. They probably have
From
more.
Trader Joe's. Yes, I'm sure that they have good tahini there. Yes.
Okay.
Just make sure that when you open it, that you, like with peanut butter, you have separation. Make sure that it's all mixed in. The oils are mixed in with whatever.
Stir it up well and make sure it's a smooth product, not a lumpy product.
Yes. And by the way, tahini doesn't even have to be stored in the refrigerator. It can be stored, just in your pantry. Just don't keep it where it's very warm.
Okay. And how do you store sesame seeds to keep them fresh longer?
I actually store sesame seeds in the refrigerator. So all my seeds, pumpkin seeds, I have pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds and sesame seeds. I use them often. It's very nice to sprinkle them on salads on top. Like you could have toasted pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds and sesame seeds, all of them on top of this, and it will be lovely. It will add to the texture, and nutrition is amazing in seeds.
Fabulous reviews coming in. Your class is so valuable. Thank you, Anna. I can't wait to eat it. And Charlotte, of course, is going to have the dishes tonight because she cooks along with you.
Yes. Fantastic. Thank you so much for wonderful reviews and for enjoying my class. I love what I do, and I hope that I can pass my love and my expertise and knowledge to you and get you excited about making this wonderful food for yourself. And this is what it is all about. You create here to feed yourself and to create wonderful health so that you can enjoy your life to the fullest.
Thank you so very much, Anna.
You're welcome.
And Annie, we'll let you close out. Andy's going to close us out, I think.
Okay. Thank you. See you next time.